Picture this. You're at a rooftop party in the middle of a warm July evening. The sun is dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in these impossible shades of violet to neon orange. It's breathtaking. But then you look around. Every single person has their back to the view, arm extended, staring at a 6-inch glass rectangle to make sure they've captured the perfect angle. Everyone, except for one guy. He's just leaning against the railing, drink in hand, watching the colors fade with his actual naked eyes. He hasn't touched his phone once. When someone asks for his handle to tag him in a story, he just shrugs and says those 4 words that make everyone freeze like he's just admitted to a felony. "I'm not on social media." Suddenly, the vibe shifts. People look at him with a mix of pity and suspicion, like he's a survivalist living in a bunker. But here's the kicker. That guy isn't missing out. In fact, he might be the only person in that room who was actually present. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on the radical psychology of the people who walked away from the digital matrix. Stay with me, because by the end of this, I'm going to reveal a specific neurological shift that happens when you quit scrolling, a shift that makes these people nearly immune to the modern anxiety epidemic, and it's something you can start reclaiming today without even deleting your accounts. We live in a world where your digital footprint is often treated as more real than your physical existence. If you didn't post the workout, did the calories even burn? If you didn't share the brunch, did the avocado toast even taste good? Understanding the psychology of the unscrolled isn't just a fun deep dive, it's a survival guide for your own mental sovereignty. It's about figuring out why your brain feels like it's being fried in a pan of notifications and how a small group of people have managed to keep their cool while the rest of us are chasing ghosts. To understand why some people opt out, we first have to admit how the rest of us got hooked. Social media isn't just an app, it's a dopamine delivery system designed by the most brilliant minds in behavioral psychology. Imagine a laboratory where engineers study how to trigger the same primitive reward centers in your brain that light up when you win at a slot machine or take a bite of a double cheeseburger. That's Silicon Valley. Every like, every heart, every OMG Queen comment is a tiny hit of validation that tells your brain, you matter, you're seen, you're part of the tribe. But the people who don't use social media aren't somehow broken or lacking these dopamine receptors. They've just found a different, more sustainable source of fuel. Psychologists call this the shift from extrinsic to intrinsic motivation. Most of us are living for the out there, the external applause. We need 200 strangers to validate our vacation for the trip to feel worth it. But the person off the grid, they've developed an internal compass. They validate themselves. They've realized that a sunset is a finished product the moment it hits their retinas. It doesn't need a filter or a caption to be complete. This internal sovereignty is like a superpower in 2026. It means their self-worth isn't tied to a fluctuating stock market of digital approval. But let's talk about the darker architecture of the scroll, the comparison trap. Your brain isn't wired to handle the highlight reels of 5,000 people simultaneously. When you scroll, you are unconsciously measuring your behind the scenes, the messy kitchen, the credit card debt, the lonely Tuesday nights, against everyone else's best of collection. It's a game you are designed to lose. You're comparing your raw footage to their edited, color-graded final cut. The University of Pennsylvania actually proved that even just cutting down to 30 minutes a day drastically drops levels of depression. But the people who quit entirely, they've stepped off the treadmill. They aren't playing a game they can't win. They don't feel inadequate because they aren't constantly being bombarded with images of people who look happier or richer or more aesthetic. They've removed the mirror that was constantly telling them they weren't enough.
Then there's the issue of the shrinking attention span. We've been trained to crave novelty every 6 to 15 seconds. Swipe, swipe, new face, swipe, new joke. This constant flickering is literally reshaping our gray matter. Research shows that heavy social media users have decreased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain responsible for focus, impulse control, and making big life decisions. If you feel like you can't get through a single paragraph of a book without your hand twitching toward your phone, that's your CEO taking a nap. People off social media are essentially doing brain gym every day. They can sit with a single thought. They can engage in deep work. They have escaped what experts call continuous partial attention, that state where you're never 100% anywhere because 10% of your brain is always waiting for a notification ping. When a non-user is with you, they are actually with you. They aren't mentally drafting the caption for the photo they just took of your coffee. Now, we have to be honest here. Not everyone who avoids social media is doing it for enlightenment. Sometimes it's fear-based isolation. There's a big difference between intentional solitude and hiding because you're terrified of being judged. One is a position of power, the other is a cage. But for those who choose it intentionally, they've realized that social media has turned us all into personal brands. We've become our own PR agents, constantly curating, editing, and marketing a version of ourselves to an audience that, let's be real, mostly consists of people who are too busy worrying about their own brand to actually care about yours. The people who opt out have decided they'd rather be a person than a product. They've traded breadth for depth. They might only have 5 friends they talk to regularly, but those 5 friends know the actual state of their soul, not just the vibe of their Instagram grid. Think about the sheer math of it. The average person spends about 2.5 hours a day on these platforms. That adds up to 38 full days a year. Imagine I handed you a gift of 38 extra days every single year. What would you do? You'd learn a language, you'd start that business, you'd finally finish that woodworking project, or you'd just sleep. People who don't use social media are literally living longer, more focused lives because they aren't donating over a month of their time every year to an algorithm that profits off their insecurity. And then there's the memory paradox. This is wild. Studies show that when we document an event, we actually remember it less. Because you're focused on the framing and the lighting, your brain offloads the actual experience to the camera. You're not building a memory, you're building content. Years later, you'll have the photo, but you won't have the feeling. People who stay off the apps are building a library of vivid, high-definition memories in their own minds because they were fully present for the data upload.
So back to that open loop from the start. What is the neurological secret of these people? It's something called cognitive sovereignty. By opting out, they've retrained their brains to find meaning in the mundane. They've broken the addiction to the next thing. They've realized that the fear of missing out, FOMO, is actually a myth. Most of what you're missing out on is digital noise. The things that actually matter, the birth of a friend's child, a career opportunity, a genuine connection, those things find you. You don't need to be scrolling at 2 a.m. to be part of the world. The truth is, these people aren't better than us, but they are making a different trade. They've decided that their attention is the most valuable currency they own, and they refuse to spend it on someone else's agenda. They've realized that you don't need an audience to make a life meaningful. If you've been feeling the itch to step back, know that you aren't being antisocial. You're being pro-reality. You're choosing presence over performance. So here is your challenge for this week. Try to have one undocumented day. Go somewhere beautiful, eat something incredible, or have a deep conversation, and don't tell a single soul on the internet about it. Keep that moment just for yourself. Feel the power of owning your own experience. Because at the end of the day, your life isn't a brand, and you aren't a performance. You are a human being meant to be lived, not viewed. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and join our community of people trying to stay sane in a digital world. Drop a comment below and tell me what's the one thing you'd do with those 38 extra days a year. I'll see you in the next one. Stay present.